Are you stuck chasing perfection at work? Triple checking emails, adapting the project plan 70 times, getting frustrated about this coworker who is so sloppy that again, you need to correct their work? In this video, we're breaking down why perfectionism is more of a trap than a superpower, how it makes you less likable, how it makes you a micromanager, or just the person why everybody rolls their eyes when you say something. We will also dive into the why, the hidden stress triggers that keep you hooked. Most importantly, I'll share actionable strategies from counseling to help you loosen the grip of perfectionism, reclaim your mental clarity, and strike a healthier balance at work. So, watch until the end in order to learn how to embrace progress over perfection. Hello there, and welcome back to Unstress Me, your channel for mental health and stress management. For those who are new to the channel, my name is Annie. I'm a psychologist and once upon a time, a corporate professional navigating the high-pressure world of business with tight deadlines and the constant demand to perform. After wrestling with my own mental health challenges for several years, I decided to specialize in stress management and resilience. Now, I'm on a mission to help others navigate their tough times, just as I learned to navigate mine. Let's start with a closer look at how does perfectionism look like in the work life. I will introduce you some colleagues that probably also work in your team. Spoiler alarm, this perfection is quite the opposite of carefree. The overthinker is trapped in a cycle of overanalyzing every decision, big or small. They second-guess their work, constantly revising and tweaking even the smallest details. This can lead to spending more time thinking about tasks than actually completing them. For example, the overthinker might agonize for hours over the wording of a single email, worried about how it might be interpreted, only to send it long after it was needed. The all-or-nothing achiever believes that if a task isn't done perfectly, it's a total failure. They have problems accepting the 80/20th rule. They set unrealistically high goals and feel defeated if they don't achieve every part of them. For instance, an all-or-nothing achiever might create a 20-point project plan and feel like a failure for completing only 18 of the tasks, ignoring the overall success. The self-critic holds themselves to impossible standards and is overly harsh when they fall short. They focus on mistakes rather than successes, no matter how minor the errors. For example, a self-critic might receive glowing feedback on a project, but fixate on a single typo in one slide, letting it overshadow the praise. They always take feedback personal because their self-worth is linked to the quality of the work they produce. The risk manager is a perfectionist who meticulously identifies and tries to eliminate all potential risks or flaws before taking action. While their thoroughness ensures high-quality outcomes, their obsession with fixing everything often leads to delays, missed deadlines, and frustration for themselves and their team. They are often mistaken for resistant to change because they are too focused on the risks. Detail-obsessed perfectionists lose sight of the big picture because they're so fixated on minor details. They struggle to complete tasks because they can't stop tweaking and refining. For example, they might spend hours adjusting font sizes on a presentation, leaving little time to refine the actual content. And yes, they also focus on the mistakes of others, what often doesn't make them very popular. And of course, the micromanager who struggles to delegate tasks because they believe no one else can meet their high standards. They insist on being involved in every detail, even for tasks outside their expertise. And what all these types have in common? They hate it having this perfectionist urge because it either frustrates them or make them think that they have to do everything because obviously they are the only one in the company who cares about quality and value, and this stresses them out. So, why do so many of us fall into the perfectionism trap? To answer this, let's look at the concept of stress intensifiers, introduced by psychologist Michael Kaluza. Stress intensifiers are internal factors, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors that amplify our experience of stress. And perfectionism? It's one of the most common and most toxic internal stress intensifiers. At its core, the urge to be perfect often stems from deeply rooted beliefs we develop in childhood. Many perfectionists grow up with the idea that their worth depends on what they achieve. Perfectionism is a coping mechanism, a way to compensate for a negative belief about themselves, like, I'm not good enough. The perfectionist thinks, if I'm perfect, I can control how others see me. I can make them love me. It is important to understand that is not given by nature, it is a learned behavior. And the more we achieve and receive compliments and wows, the stronger it becomes. Perfectionism is all about validation and acceptance. Some of us internalize the belief that they are only lovable if they deliver, achieve, or succeed. This mindset creates a constant pressure to perform, and in adulthood, it manifests as perfectionism. It's a way of saying, if I'm the best, I'll finally be enough. Perfectionism might seem like it's about high standards, but it's often about control. It's the belief that if everything is perfect, nothing can go wrong. However, this false sense of control only adds to stress, making perfectionism one of the most toxic internal stress factors. This stress intensifier is often driven by what psychologists call the performance motivation, the desire for success and self-affirmation through good performance. People who are highly motivated by achievement want to do things well, better, or, ideally, perfectly. While this can be a strength, it becomes a problem when the desire for achievement turns into an absolute demand, making individuals more vulnerable to stress. This heightened drive for perfection often leads to a constant effort to avoid failure, mistakes, or situations where errors are possible. Perfectionistic behavior becomes a way to shield oneself from these risks at all costs. The problem isn't the desire to improve or achieve high standards. There are, of course, tasks where precision and perfection are essential. The issue arises when perfectionistic achievement behaviors are carried over into every aspect of life, applied indiscriminately to all professional tasks or personal activities. And now, after we learned what is perfectionism, let me give you some practical tips and strategies I learned from counseling on how to escape this trap. The thing we need to focus on is our mindset. Tip number 1. Translate negative thoughts into positive ones. Start by identifying the negative thoughts fueling your perfectionism. Then, actively rewrite them into positive, constructive affirmations. Here are some examples. Negative thought, I can't make mistakes. Positive reframe, I'm allowed to make mistakes. They help me grow. Negative thought, if it's not perfect, it's not good enough. Positive reframe, good enough is often more than enough. And some other examples of positive reframing. My worth isn't tied to perfection. As good as possible, as good as necessary. I focus on what's important, not on perfection in everything. Others value me for who I am, not just my achievements. I'm worthy even when I'm not in first place. Tip number 2. Allow yourself only one worst-case scenario. Perfectionists often ruminate over countless catastrophic outcomes. Instead, force yourself to imagine just one worst-case scenario and deal with that. Most of the time, you'll realize that even the worst isn't as bad as it feels in your head. This exercise helps you contain anxiety and focus on actionable steps to address real risks. Tip number 3. Practice self-compassion. Perfectionists are often their own harshest critics. Combat this by practicing self-compassion. Treat yourself as you would a close friend. If a friend made a mistake, would you criticize them harshly or remind them that mistakes are human? Give yourself the same kindness. Tip number 4. Try journaling. Journaling can help you process and challenge perfectionistic thoughts. Write down what's on your mind, particularly when you feel overwhelmed by the urge to be perfect. Here are some prompts. What am I afraid will happen if this isn't perfect? What would I say to a friend in my situation? What's the bigger picture here? By seeing your thoughts on paper, you can identify patterns and develop strategies to counteract them. Tip number 5. Seek feedback from friends and family. Sometimes, perfectionists believe they are only valued for their achievements. Challenge this by asking friends and family what they like about you most. You might be surprised to find that their answers have nothing to do with your accomplishments, but focus on your personality, kindness, humor, or other traits. This realization can be a powerful motivator to shift your mindset. Tip number 6. Lower your standards. On purpose. Force yourself to lower your expectations to the bare minimum that still feels comfortable. For example, if you typically revise a report 5 times, try submitting it after 3 reviews instead. Over time, you'll see that the world doesn't fall apart when your work isn't perfect. Learn to use perfectionism as a tool you deploy intentionally, rather than something that's always running in the background and draining your mental battery. And last but not least, work on your beliefs and question them. Perfectionism is often rooted in deeply held beliefs. Take some time to write down the thoughts driving your mindset. For example, belief: no one cares about people in second place. Why do I think that? Because I've always been told you're only worthy if you win. Once you identify these beliefs, challenge them by reframing them as questions. Is it really true that no one cares about second place? Does my worth really depend on winning? This practice helps you uncover and dismantle the core assumptions feeding your perfectionism. Perfectionism can feel like a safety net, but it often holds us back more than it helps. By shifting your mindset, challenging your beliefs, and reframing negative thoughts, you can take steps toward a healthier, more balanced approach to work and life. Remember, progress, not perfection, is what truly drives success. Let go of the urge to be flawless and embrace the freedom that comes with knowing you're enough, just as you are. Thank you for joining me today on Unstress Me, where we strive to bring clarity and support to your mental health journey. If you found this video on perfectionism at work insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Remember, understanding and acknowledging your feelings is the first step towards healing.